Well, it is that time of the year once again to be taking a look at Doctor Who B&M Exclusive action figure collector sets. In today's review, rather excitingly, the Sensorites. This collector set will be available from mid-August at a recommended retail price for £19.99, featuring a variant of the First Doctor alongside the Sensorites, which have never been released as part of the classic series line and are very exciting additions to the collection indeed, featuring a brand new head sculpt and a new accessory. The packaging for this collector set follows exactly the same style guide to usual, so say it with me people. At the top of the box, the Doctor Who logo. At the bottom of the box, the title of the set. Shiny limited edition sticker. On the sides of the box, the same stuff again. At the back of the box, there's the figures again. At one side, the TARDIS, and at the other, a story synopsis. As we open the box, we are greeted by this rather lovely backdrop, something of which that is usually reserved for the History of the Daleks sets and the Doctor TARDIS 2-packs. So it's lovely to see that this is finally expanded out into the 3-packs, featuring a lovely diorama as picturing the spaceship from the Sensorites story. So this is perfect if you love to display your figures in the box. So let's start off with the First Doctor himself, William Hartnell. Delving right in there with a comparison to some of the previous First Doctor action figures which have been released, all of which do of course follow exactly the same sculpt. The B&M 2021 variation of the First Doctor is kind of a combination of the 50th anniversary Daleks Master Plan, First Doctor from the Toys R Us exclusive 2-pack, and the 13 Doctors collector set version of the First Doctor from the Web Planet. The vast majority of First Doctor figures do have grey checkered trousers, and as a result the Web Planet variation is rather strikingly different. This design has been used on the B&M 2021 version, and it does look very similar indeed. 2021 version, the base colour of that lighter pink does appear to be ever so slightly lighter. We have the occasional crease here and there, adding to the material effect, and then we have the checkers over the top, which have been really nicely emphasised on both the sides and back, with this lovely burgundy checkered pattern, rather sharply printed on. For the sake of variety, the paint application on the shoes have also received a slight change. The Web Planet variation does in fact have white spats detailed with a black button design, however on the 2021 Sensorites variation, the spats are now a lighter brown. Not particularly anything too remarkable going on with the shoes. We have the same detailing as always, featuring a few creases and the sole at the bottom, and the vast majority of the shoe has been painted a darker brown. Due to the trousers, one of the first similarities that we draw from this latest version of the First Doctor is the one from the 13 Doctors collector set. However, the waistcoat is starkly different. Yes, it is exactly the same sculpt with the same details, however the paint application has been completely revised. Of course, the Web Planet version features a brown base colour and a white cravat, unlike any other First Doctor. The Sensorites variation of the First Doctor, which is on the right, does feature a lot of similarities to the Toys R Us exclusive 50th anniversary First Doctor on the right. As you can see, the waistcoat is a rather similar paint application along with the monocle, the only major difference being that the cravat is indeed blue, very much like the Toys R Us version. However, the latest 2021 variation is in fact a more strikingly brighter blue compared to the darker used on the 50th release. In fact, I really do like this latest version of the First Doctor. In particular on the waistcoat, lots of lovely details have been nicely picked out through the use of paint application, featuring a really lovely vibrant white base colour on the waistcoat itself. Over the top of this we have the inclusion of the silver highlight on the pinstripe. Again, this has been really sharply printed. The buttons have been given a lovely silver highlight in keeping within the sculpt. Towards the top of this we have the monocle, which has been highlighted with a black paint application. Again, this is very precise, and the monocle itself has been highlighted with silver. As for the black jacket, if you've got previous First Doctors, you know exactly what to expect. Lots of nice details on this, including the lapels of the jacket and the buttons running down the centre, all of which have been sculpted on. And then of course along the side we also have the inclusion of the pockets. Flipping around to the back we have a few other stitching details on the jacket itself, including 2 buttons at the bottom there, as well as numerous stitching lines. Overall, this has been sculpted in a slightly glossier plastic to some of the other First Doctor releases, but overall looks nice. As for the likeness, this is undeniably William Hartnell, an absolutely perfect sculpt with lots of very precise and intricate details. In particular, I really love the creases and wrinkles around the forehead and the eye sockets. I really love the structure on the face as well, the way that the eyes are seeped back ever so slightly into the face, and that brilliant point on the nose. As we move towards the bottom, we do of course also have the mouth in there as well. It's great to see that the paint application on this is not too overdone, very subtle indeed, as well as some nice creases around the side of the mouth to represent the cheeks. And then of course as we move towards the sides, we also have the detailing sculpt there of the ears, which does of course wrap around the sides of the wig. As for the paint application which has been used, I'm happy to report that I like the paint application, because on the initial images I was a little bit concerned that the pink around the eyes had been overdone. However, now I've got this figure in person, I think it is much better. The pink has been toned down quite a lot, in particular compared to that of the original 2009 release. It's not too overdone. Of course you have the lighter brown of the iris in there as well, and that rather lovely highlight on the eyebrows, and the skin tone also looks considerably natural. If anything, it is in fact a very good paint application. I'm rather happy with it. Flipping around to the back, the wig detailing is again very lovely. We have all the different strands of hair, and the paint application over the top of this has once more seen an ever so slight revision, using a darker grey on the base, and then we have a lighter grey applied over the top. It's a very similar finish to that seen on the 13 Doctors collector set. So in summary, for the First Doctor, another rather nice variant to add to the shelf. However, if you have the other First Doctor action figures, you know exactly what to expect because the sculpt is exactly the same. If you missed out on the 13 Doctors set version of the First Doctor, then this is probably one worth picking up, because at least from the waist down it is virtually exactly the same. However, if you're looking for a different-ish version of First Doctor to add to your shelf with some rather lovely sharp paint detailing, this is certainly a First Doctor figure for you. So now moving on to the other two figures of the set, and of course most notably, it's the Sensorites. Yay! We have an elderly Sensorite and a regular Sensorite, and it is absolutely brilliant to be able to add these figures to the shelf. It's lovely to finally have some variety within the 1960s era, and having figures that aren't Cybermen or Daleks, and these are a really lovely addition. As you can see, both of the Sensorites are very, very similar, however do feature some rather obvious differences. So for that reason, throughout this part of the review, we're basically going to be taking a look at both of the Sensorites together and taking a look at what differs between them. For those of you that think that the Sensorite sculpt looks ever so slightly familiar, you wouldn't be wrong. This sculpt has been used twice before, and rather effectively at that. However, there have been a number of different sculpt changes. Firstly, the lower half of the leg has been resculpted to feature a more standard form of leg sculpt, and then we also have the rather unusual feet there at the very bottom. And secondly, both of the hands have been resculpted in order to hold the probe accessory. And of course, released alongside this set, the main body sculpt has also been used for the Vord from the Keys of Marinus collector set, one of which that I will be reviewing soon. Let's take a look at the regular Sensorite, because this provides a closer look at the costume itself. And the costume is very basic indeed. It's basically a man in a mask in a full body leotard, which has been sculpted in a light blue plastic. And generally overall it is very simple indeed, but that said, it is very effective. The bodysuit itself does feature a few smaller details, including a number of creases and wrinkles within the material, in particular towards the upper half of the torso here, as well as a few smaller creases within the arms and legs, and the same can also be said for the back as well, in particular at the lower point of the spine. Other than that, there really isn't too much going on. We basically have exactly the same lighter blue, which has been used on the entirety of the body, and no additional shades have been applied over the top of this. Both of the Sensorites do feature the circular disc, which is held up to their forehead. This has been simply painted on to the actual body, so we also have the circular disc, which I do believe is a piece of plastic, which has simply been glued on. The texture on this is a rather lovely checkered design. The same detailing is present on the elder Sensorite, however this is mostly hidden due to the black sash. On the prototype images, it does look like they played with the idea of having the little circular disc being able to be held to the forehead. To be honest, I'm glad that this idea was dropped, because I think this design choice looks much neater. Flipping around to the back of the torso to take a look at the spine, we do have this rather lovely detailing which has been applied, including the zipper running up the side of the back. This has been simply achieved using paint application, including some lighter blues and greys. A little feature that has been included simply to make the design look a bit more interesting. I really like that. We do also have a few stitches which have been applied to the sculpt itself, including on the lower half of the spine as well as on the shoulder. One final difference for the regular Sensorite body is the inclusion of these black bands on the lower half of the arms. These are not present on the elder Sensorite, and this is probably representing rank or something like that. Again, a nice difference. The elder Sensorite doesn't feature any of this banded detailing, it is simply blank, and then we have the hands, which again are exactly the same for both of the figures and are a brand new sculpt. This has a few creases in there, however generally features the 4 fingers and a thumb, one of which has been sculpted open palm and the other has been sculpted in order to hold the probe accessory. The most obvious difference for the elder Sensorite is the inclusion of this cross-banded section. This has been sculpted in a black plastic and there's no further details on this. Simply sits on the top half of the body and it is also present on the back as well. One thing's for certain is that the Sensorite won't have any difficulty standing up because he has these rather unusual circular large feet. What I really love about this sculpt is that you can kind of see the subtle detailing in there of the human feet underneath the actual costume itself. There is a few creases surrounding this also, complete with a dirtied wash over the top of this. No doubt the dust picked up from the BBC studio floor, which is a cool little touch. As for the head sculpt, it is absolutely incredible and most certainly looks like the Sensorite mask as seen back in 1964. Of course, both of the Sensorites share exactly the same sculpt, however the paint does in fact differ between the two different Sensorites. The elder Sensorite is my favourite of the two, as we have a slightly darker skin tone which has been used, but most importantly the actual beard itself is a lovely vibrant white. We have a nice shock of darker grey in there as well, really drawing out the strands, and overall I love this finish on the facial hair. The regular Sensorite has a much paler skin tone and the same can be said for the beard itself, having a cream finish. However, once more, a few darker shades of grey in there have been used to bring out those smaller details. As for the actual face itself, again this is a really stunning design with lots of intricate little patterns, including those lines I suppose around the sides of where the nose would be, and that rather subtle sculpt of the mouth. Then we also have the eyes in there as well, painted using a very sharp black, looking very ominous and dark, and this has been excellently picked out using a very small silver highlight above the eyebrows. As for the forehead and the rest of the face, there are a few wrinkles within this, and as we move towards the sides we have a rather truncated form of skull, which does of course lead to this rather large piece at the very back. The facial hair does also lead around to the very sides of the face, where you also have the slight suggestion of those rather elf-like ears present on both sides of the face. On the sides of the neck there is also the suggestion of the bodysuit coming a little bit further up the neck to make it look more like the costume as seen within the 1960s serial, and this is really effective. For a while, the B&M Exclusive series did tend to shy away from accessories. It's great to see with this set that that is not the case, as both of these Sensorites do come with a probe accessory. This is a nice, rather basic sculpt with a circular design, a few smaller details on this, including these rows there towards the top and this cross-section in the middle, and this is simply a silver paint application with no further details on this. So in summary, for the Sensorites, two absolutely superb figures to add to the shelf, and as I mentioned earlier, it is so lovely to have a figure for the 1960s shelf that isn't a Doctor, Cyberman or Dalek. This is the start of a new beginning for this line, so nice variety, and these will also look excellent alongside the Vord. A great use of a pre-existing sculpt and an absolutely superb accessory and head sculpt to accompany it. So there we have it, that is the Doctor Who B&M Exclusive 2021, the Sensorites collector set from the 1964 serial with the same name. In summary for these figures, they're excellent. The Sensorites are absolutely perfect and a wonderful addition to the collection. As for the First Doctor, you kind of know what to expect. There are some really lovely paint application changes. As said, I don't think it really matters about the First Doctor by this point. I think regardless, even if the First Doctor was exactly the same, people will still be buying this set for the two Sensorites, because we've wanted some 1960s monsters and villains for so long, and with this set and the Keys of Marinus collector set, we finally get to do that. A wonderful head sculpt with some great accessories, and most certainly a very welcome addition to collection. So thank you very much for watching this review. I really hope you have enjoyed it. Do of course stay tuned on The Host Productions for regular Doctor Who content, from audio drama reviews, product reviews, and much more. On that note, have a nice day, and I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.